tea. Right. All right. Okay, we are on to a second stream. All right. So many devices. What are these? How you doing? Well, could you please connect? Maybe. Ah, there we go. Maybe. Yeah, we can't play that. All right, we'll go with this. Because I don't want to get in trouble. Okay. Doing tired? Well, that is your prerogative, I suppose. So, where did we leave off? We were doing something in multipants. There we go, right? We were talking about, well, I was doing the talking, you were not. All right. So, designing a server and a client, that was kind of the thought. Oh my god. Okay, anyway. What are we doing with this thing now? Why is that thing so warm? Who knows? Dun, 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 dun. Have I checked all my boxes? Oh. There we go. Okay. Is there any reason? Any reason? There is a reason. Wow, those are some weird looking bunnies, but okay. Okay, no one's saying anything. We don't care about that then. I think we're all good to go. Right. We'll see how long we'll stream for today. It's the second stream. We were doing some work previously on all of this stuff, and I thought, why don't we do a second stream? I actually had the energy to do so now. I had breakfast for once, lunch and dinner. So I think that might be while I'm still functioning. Oh, and I have tea now. I did not have a lot of tea today, which is a massive problem. Okay. let's just dive right into it. We'll probably pick up the vibe of whatever is going on as we go along, right? Okay. So what do we have? Maybe we have the need for some Excalibur. That's not an M. There we go. All right. Oh, look at that. Look at this. We've sold all of this. Buy solutions. Buy. What are you? Ah, you more of this stuff. Yeah, we sold you too. Whee! Goodbye. Have we solved this? Oh God, yes. God, yes, we have. We sold this all day long. Hello, Ragamuffin. How you doing, buddy? Yeah. I have a lot of energy today. Okay, I think that's it. All right. Oh yeah, there we go. Right. 100%. Okay, so we have our server, right, for the evening, and this is what we're gonna do. Well, that's very nice of you, but I think I'll be good. So we're gonna have clients, and before we even design this, let's just think about this, right? How's the flow of information, right? Which is kind of essential if you want to understand what you're doing, right? Okay, so we have decided things, kind of, right? Accepting new clients. This is what we're gonna do, right? Thank you, Raga. Okay, so we get a new connection. We can do that by, well, first of all, we need to give ourselves a listener, right? And what is a listener? Well, according to this thing, that's not the right thing. According to this thing, we have an endpoint. That's what we need, right? So we need an endpoint for us. Can you get out of there? Thank you. This is not generic over something, is it? Of course it is. Okay, but it's generic over site. Can you tell me what you are? Server. It's not entirely surprising that it's generic over server. But what server, I hear you ask? Transport. Server. Nope, that did not exist there. Endpoint side. Well, that's a little bit long, ain't it? All right. It's a little bit large, yeah. Click and hide. There we go. Hello, Carl. How you doing? How are you? Maybe we could pass the endpoint in, right? Can you say type alias? Well, I don't know if you can. D uppercase F less than. It should have been, whoops, it should have been D uppercase T less than, right? That's what it should have been. Okay, so we need a thoroughfare. We could let the end user cobble this together, right? I would like, if I may, to maybe have a look at what we can do with this thing then. Can we pass some kind of... we could pass a socket address with bind address. Right? As tempting as that is, let's make a socket address first, right? Unwrappo. Are you an unwrappo? Shit. Which one of these are we using? Well, that's very nice of you. How did I get there? Oh, it's this guy. It's the StudNet one. Beautiful. Then we know which one to use. DT equal sign. Ship. Okay, so parse then. Beautiful. You are a Get rid of you and then with socket. No. Come here, you quiche. I am lost in the code again. It is definitely the builder. There we go. With the bind address. Okay. Fine. Is this failing to parse? It is failing to parse. But why can this parse? I mean, we could just do that, but... Oh, is it because it's a host and not an IP address? You know what? I bet we can circumvent this bollocks by just doing this. Fine. Okay, what was I doing wrong? Okay, it's working now. Okay. Yeah, that worked. Okay, so in the interest of keeping it simple, then we could just pass this in, right? Have to start him on Linux early. How old is your brother then? 1, 2 maybe? Oh, I am warm. This menopause is doing a number on me. Okay, we are passing in that. That's gonna be wrong. Let's do a server builder. You want a server builder, don't you? Good work, Susan. I remember you had some pretty wild requirements, right? I can only get a job between the time of the rising shadow and the summer solstice, given that the moon is angry and a waxing gibbon. Congratulations, Susan. That's really good to hear. How's your laptop situation then? They start them on Chromebooks at school. I mean, maybe that's better than Apple products though, Cal. I don't know what school they're at, but you know, that's something, you know. Let's do this. New source server builder .rs pubstruct server builder. And then when we do new, we're going to change it to builder. And that's going to return a server builder instead. So we do server builder new. And then we'll populate the server builder with some fun bits later. Mod builder. Whoops. Impulse server builder. Really? Why won't you comment things out? I say. Had some requirements. Yeah, I was saying that earlier, Susan. I said with the advent of all the hardware becoming prohibitively expensive, like people can't buy new RAM or anything like that, right? There's a need to make things work with all the hardware in a good way, right? Builder. All right, so builder, server builder, server builder, new. All right, let's add the new function to the server builder. We're gonna have a frame time. That's a duration. Yeah. This one is not gonna run on the web, so yeah, I mean desktops. If you have the space and the lifestyle for a desktop, that's obviously gonna give you more performance and give you more bang for your metaphorical buck. Okay, so what's our accumulator? It's not there. What's our alpha? It's not there. Where's our world? We could have a struct called without or no world. So only the no world can be created in such a way. But that is private. You cannot have it when it is private. And now it is no longer private. Beautiful. Metaphorical indeed. I am feeling particularly metaphorical this fine day. How are you all doing? What do we do here? Go bunny dance. Thank you, Apu. Thank you so much. That was good quality. Thank you so much, Apu. Oh man, that made me happy. That brought a bit of life into the whole thing as well, right? Good old dancing bun. With world. That's the W. Whoopsie. That doesn't exist. We might as well put a W over there then, shouldn't we? Super. Thanks for asking. Well, now that's not bound to anything, so now it is. Hello, Colin. How's it going? Bruh. You young people and your fucking vernacular, man. Bruh. Bruh, I got laptop fingers. I don't even know what that means, alright? Go for it, Susan. Give it heck. Really? I mean, I think I barred the fallback image, right? Are you sure? But I'm guessing, I guess when you're updating, Susie, that's where you run into issues, right? I am Colin. Do you want to see what we've done before? Do you want to see what we did before? Check out this bad boy of a game. Are you ready for this? I might have hyped it up a bit now. All right. Would you not just want to play this? Doesn't this game just make you think that you should play this game? And that you look at this, you think that you would be better than me. That's what you think. And that's the secret of the game. You think you're better than me, but you don't get to try it because the game's not public. And it's such a painful thing. I love you. I'm sorry you died. Yeah, I've been in that situation myself, Susan. Listen, Susan, you're learning things through experience now, right? So you're figuring things out, yeah? And it's good, right? And it's good. I think I'm missing a filthy bracket. You know what? I'm not missing anything. When do we do multiplayer online? We'll see, Krapik. Man, yeah, every day it's like a treasure for you, right? You get like a new pronunciation of your name, right? But you need to have words with your parents because that giving you that name is just fucking with you, okay? They knew exactly what they were doing, okay? Baby, oh no, we made our own thing, right? WGPU. Here you go. You can see it here, right? That might not make a lot of sense to look at it, but if you look at the Kagotomo file, you can see the relevant dependencies in there, right? So what's our frame time? Frame time is self dot. Frame time. Self. Okay, so frame time can be set whenever you feel like it. No, you know what? That's the state. So you get a letter T. No, that can't be there. Not seeing that. What's a Despot's game? Is this something Despot's game, right? Really? This looks way better. You just want to show a game that looks better than mine, okay? Thanks for nothing, okay? No, I see what you mean with the palette, right? The palette is kind of a muted. I reckon we can go to low spec and find. Whoops, no T. Apparently that doesn't matter. I bet we can find the palette for that or something similar around here. It's not like a wildly. Yeah, so this I could have worked with this as well. I like the few color palettes though, because it makes me think a little bit, and also why not, right? This looks really good though, but they kind of have a certain shade to the game. I see what you mean, right? Okay. Okay, what am I doing again? So frame time, sure. Then we are gonna have an implementation here called finish. Finish him. Okay. Invert types, please. Thank you. We got a hype train. Thank you so much, guys. That's delicious, man. I love it. Thank you so much. We can just do all this stuff, right? Yes, yes. Well, rather this is self state 0. The connections, well, actually that one is also set, but we're missing the, shit, what did I do now? We're missing this one. That's what I'm missing. We just need a game ID that works in multiplayer. I'm sure we can come up with something dumbass enough to do it, right? So why not? Why wouldn't we, right? Stick it on a DO droplet. Keep the game scope sensible so we don't do something incredibly stupid. All right. Okay, so let's say with listener. So we have with frame time, with listener. And this might have to be async, okay? Shoot. Well, that was a noise that's concerning. Did you kill someone, sweetie? Oh, it's such a perfect day, man. I have the attitude of a manic depressive, I suppose, but or at least a semi-manic person, right? But it has been just such a fantastic day, right? Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're going to, so we got a bit of a problem here. Maybe we don't do that. I need to think. So a socket address is enough to create this thing, right? But then again, it isn't, because we need these things as well, right? Okay, what do I do here? Dalulu is coming to find some nail stuff. She's leaving soon. No worries. Cool beans. Why the face is TypeScript. All right. It is not, Skylar. It is not. Go wash your potty mouth or I'll burn the mince, okay? How you doing, Skylar Boo? We kind of need these two. So I'm trying to remove the friction from this. And I'm also painfully aware at this moment in time that I should probably change deodorant. This one smells too much. And for some reason, I can tell really well right now. Okay, we have a cert file and a key file. We generate those. But if we generate them, we are not allowed to use them unless we do the naughty thing with the thing. How are we supposed to do this? Okay, first unknown. Okay, so we figure out. We have to figure out now. Certificates. Or certify cats. Okay. If we do this, then we have self-signed certificates. But what if we want to... What if we want to use the... We have the option to go with native cert or with no cert validation, which is naughty. So what do we do there? You have to have certificates with Quinn or with the Quick, right? Configure a client to use native local root certificates for server validation. This method loads trusted root certificate from the system certificate store, ensuring that your client can trust certificates signed by well-known authorities. It configures safe default TLS configuration. And then we have the naughty one. Configures the skip server certificate validation, potentially compromises security. This is intended for advanced users. Hi. And should be used with caution. It configures the client to bypass server certificate validation during the TLS handshake, effectively trusting any server certificate presented, even if it is not signed by a trusted certificate authority. Using this method, it can expose your application to security risk. Thing is, I'm kind of okay with this. Well, Skylar, you can tell me if things are not okay. If it's fine to say that if that's the case. Like if it's like teenage angst, then I can just tell you that it'll get better with time. But if it's really difficult situations, then by all means, right? Maybe this is what we should do. Maybe I need to figure this out. don't think this one is wise. We try the hash thing, right? What was the reasoning for you not getting any more for an unknown time? What's the reasoning there? Are your parents aware of what the safe space means to you, right? But also, as a parent, I can tell you that if I think or I suspect that my child is in any kind of trouble, then I have to know that. A parent has to know. You should respect your child's privacy, but your child's privacy does not come before your child's welfare, right? Did they give you a reason for why they did that, though? Want them to knock and not sit on my bed. So when these things happened, do you have the ability to do you have the ability to talk to them, right? To say, listen, this means a lot to me. It's important to me that you don't sit on my bed, right? Can you not do that, and so on and so forth? Like, just can you express this in an understandable way to your parents, right? So they understand what is important, because they do not need to sit on your bed to understand whether you are okay or not, right? If you do hide crack or heroin under your bed, they might, sit on your bed and actually check to see if you want to share, right? Somewhat. Well, that's good that you can talk to your parents, though, right? That they can understand. Listen, you're never going to agree with your parents, right? There's always going to be friction, okay? Your parents' job is to make sure that you are safe and taken care of, right? And sometimes, as a young person, because I'm a young person, right? Sometimes a young person might not see it that way, right? If I take my child's phone and look through her text messages because I want to make sure that she's safe, then in her world, I'm just being a dick. But in my world as a parent, I need to know what's going on with my child, right? So there's but there's an important thing that my child understands why I have done such a thing. If I haven't done such a thing, it's important that she knows why, and that she feels that she's not going to be tricked, right? She's not like, ha, I got you now. I see you've been texting at midnight when you should have been sleeping, right? It's not like that, right? Good at hiding everything from them, but how are they supposed to help you if they don't know what's going on with you, right? It's being a parent is a difficult job, and young people certainly make that job even more difficult because they want their privacy and things like that, right? Which is understandable because you're a young person and you feel like your life is your life and they shouldn't interfere maybe with your life. But again, their main job, the moment you have a child, your top priority is your child's safety from that day on, right? No, but they like a parent doesn't know what, like if you've been like shoplifting or whatever, right? And your parent noticed that there's something off with you, they can't tell that something's off with you because you've been shoplifting or you've joined a gang, right? There's no way for a parent to know what exactly is the vibe. They just know that there is something off, right? Yeah, it's important to feel that you have privacy, right? Just like in the real world, we pretend that we have privacy, right? Thanks.gov. But yeah, no, I get you though, right? I get you. It's really annoying because from your perspective, it's probably quite frustrating because your parents, quote unquote, don't understand you, perhaps, right? Perhaps, I don't know, right? Maybe they do. Maybe they have like a full grasp of everything. But as a parent, it's really difficult to know what's going on with your child. You can tell when something is off, and all you get is no, or I'm tired, or I don't want to talk about it. And if it's because like someone was mean to you in class and called you a stupid face or whatever, then you can let that slide. But again, if you're doing drugs or join the gang, I kind of need to know, right? And as you're my parents, because they don't care, that's sad. If that's the case, that is sad. To me, it's I know that there are parents out there who don't care, but it's very difficult for me to imagine a situation of not caring, right? I think there's a little bit of complexity. Unless your parents are okay, yeah. There's a little bit of complexity because we don't know how well our parents are. We don't know. We don't. It's sometimes it's difficult to distinguish between my parents don't care about me and my parents let me do whatever I want because they think that's the right way to parent. Right? There's a complexity around that, of course. Right. Do they tell you why they think you're an ungrateful child? Right? Do they tell you why? I'm absolutely not saying that it is or isn't justified, right? I'm asking you if they tell you why they would say that to you. Because I would say that to my kid. If I'd be like, sweetie, yeah, go make daddy a cup of tea. And she's like, no. I'd be like, you ungrateful. How dare you? How bloody dare you? They disagree with me on that topic. I mean, obviously, you're not gonna. They'll be like, "You're an ungrateful child," and you're like, "Yes, I agree." That's not how conversations work, right? Um, so I can see that they disagree with you whether you're an ungrateful child or not, right? Because you probably don't feel like an ungrateful child, right? Oh, damn it, dude! I'm streaming. Don't send me pictures. Oh, nice. Mm, lemon, onion, garlic, spice. Okay, I would say the penultimate one here. Okay. That requires a third party person inside that nor you or children can say that they are not something, right? I mean, parenting is a very complicated topic, right? Because the end result for most parents is they do what they think is right. People do things all the time, and you look at their kids and you'd be like, "Wow, you're really a terrible parent." But in their world, they might be looking at you and go, "Wow, I'm really a terrible parent, but at least I'm not that guy." Uh, so it's really difficult to say, right? Because there's some parents that prescribe the notion that kids should cry, they should cry themselves out, and then there's this horrible woman wrote a book. And then there are parents who be like, oh no, you should never do that. There are like kids who like sleep in their parents' bed until they're 40. Although you should definitely see someone about some 30 years ago, right? Plus or minus a few years. But yeah, the whole thing is very difficult. my mom had a conflict with her sister, and it was involving some of my trauma and made me deeply uncomfortable talking about that. And it's one of the things they talk about that and following days, even though I told them I don't want to hear about it, and they told me I'm ungrateful for not being there for them during a conflict with their sibling. I mean, if so that is entirely fucked up, right? Like, I obviously miss a lot of the context. So just going by what you say, that's completely fucked up. Like, if your mom, if that is the truth, and your mom is there now, I gotta tell your mom, like, why would you make your child even be partially responsible for your problems and your conflict? That is an insane thing to do as a parent, right? You do not unload on your child, and you do not make your child responsible for any conflict you may have with other people. That is a tremendously fucked up thing to do, right? So if that's the truth, your mom is saying, I want her to know that. That's a fucked up thing. You don't do that to your kid, right? That is just not on. Okay, the thing is, Skylar, my mom did this to me as well. Right? She fucked with my life as a child, right? And I have some beautiful traumas from my childhood. I'm not gonna tell you about those, man, because they are so fucked up, man. But no, I absolutely, right, that makes no sense. And it's kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that you told me, and correct me if I'm wrong here, you told me at some point that you have autism. Is that correct? Or was that someone else? If you do, and your mom obviously know this, then she should understand how important correctness is for you, right? That is like a very strange thing. I know that when people talk about things, they usually leave out details of where they were wrong, right? They leave out details where, like, oh, my mom yelled at me for no reason. So really, there was no reason? Well, I mean, I did set fire to the house, but honestly, it's an old house, right? I did, yes, I do believe I do, but medical professionals disagree, though I would definitely say they're wrong for a multitude of reasons. Hello, Nightshade. Okay, well, okay, so self-diagnosis is obviously not good, right? For various reasons, right? But the thing is, you don't have to have. I just picked autism because it's such a familiar space somehow for me. But if truth and correctness is important, sometimes to some people that's more important than the emotional aspect of something, right? So I kind of get that, right? But no, it's an incredibly intrusive thing to do, to force your child without, and to even involve your child in your own personal conflicts. There's no way, right? That is how it should be, right? That needs to stop, right? Just sorry, I'm getting so no, that is incredibly stupid. All right, we're gonna look at cert things here. Oh my god, my certificate. No, oh no, I accidentally show my key as well. What do I do now? We want to dump the hash for these things, so we have the gen cert. That's what I'm looking for, right? No, there's no gen cert. Cert gen. Okay. Ooh, Nelly. Okay, yeah, there's some heavy topics today, right? That we are talking about. So cert gen goes into source for this to work, right? Again, like that. So, like, did you actually have arachnophobia? No, that's not that important, but that's an aside, right? Because it depends, right? We can have a dislike for Dave's, or we can have like a paralyzing fear, right? There's a big difference. And the reason that's important is because how people treat us around this thing, right? So if someone has like a fear of porridge and someone thinks it's funny to like, I'll flick a spoon of porridge at them for some reason. That's what you're being a dick, flicking porridge at someone, and they're being, whatever, right? But if you have like a phobia for porridge because you're Scottish, then that's like a real problem, right? That's a traumatizing problem, right? But the thing is, I I have to ask, what happened in between, right? Because you didn't walk into a room and you go, spider, shit. And then your mom turned around and be like, you're ungrateful. So there's like a whole story missing there, right? Like you can't, I can't, I don't have to, but I can't understand the picture I'm seeing, right? There's like a lot of details missing, right? So is it like that your mom was, on fire and you didn't use the fire extinguisher on her because there was a spider next to it, or like there's usually like a connection that should be present, right? Hag ass. I mean, you've been using the wrong parts then, but why do you say hag ass? It's haggis. There's not two A's in haggis, right? Anyway, what do I know? Okay, so Gen 3rd will do this. Okay, it will give us 2 certificates, and can we do something like dump hash? And you know what? We can dump the hash from the identity. We don't need this. Okay, get rid of this again. Identity and load PEM files, self-signed. Let's just open up tag bar and see what's in here, right? Really? Yeah, I almost said something very inappropriate there, so thankfully we didn't do that, right? But obviously, Skylight, you don't have to share with everyone, right? This is private stuff, right? So I get that, right? I'm making conversation, right? Okay, so what about this thing? So this will do self-signed something, right? Okay, you know what? I am gonna have to look at the documentation for this thing. What is this called? W transport. Okay, so docs RS W transport. There we go, right? What happened, as best I can tell, is I was on, I'm guessing that's not venture capitalism. I'm guessing it's a BW, but it's fine. With my friend, no, on VC with my friend. A spider crept up to me and I panicked, ran away, fell over, got up, ran to her and asked her to please remove the spider. I know what she did at that point, but nothing super important like work, medical, or so. I mean, like, medical sounds important, right? So, honey, I'm performing open heart surgery. I don't know what her work is, right? And then went, why can't you do that yourself? You're so ungrateful. I do so much for you. Can't you do this one thing? Where's the spider? Wow. Apparently 400 AR packaging combat. Oh shit, Anika, do you got a link to that, right? The worst is I'm legitimately making good progress with this and it's never being acknowledged. Okay, so Skylar, I will say this though, right? You're not alone. I am currently making a lot of progress with my stuff, so I can sympathize with you. I can empathize with you that the progress is being made and the progress feels great, right? So don't let an external influence affect how good you feel about your progress, and make a note of telling yourself that the progress that you make and all this stuff, you're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for your parents. So whether they see it or not, that doesn't matter. You're doing this because this is going to affect you positively for the rest of your life as you grow up and you become a grown person and learn how to fly a plane. I don't know what you're going to do with your life, but you grow up and hopefully you won't be an elderly man having to deal with some fuckery that should have been dealt with years ago, right? So the progress is good. The progress is made. I am in a similar situation where I am making progress and I'm really happy about the progress that I make, and no one should be allowed to take that away from me. And the same thing for you. No one should be allowed to take that away from you. As a matter of fact, tell yourself that other people do not have the power to take that away from you, right? Well, I mean, you do, Skylar. You do, because it's in the words that you express, but it does seem there's like another detail missing. It is strange that she will call you ungrateful. I think that seems very unpleasant thing to do. Like, I would never say that in earnest to my child, right? Um, so bad, naughty mom, right? Naughty. Go to your room, mom. Right? Go and burn the mints. Okay. But the important thing is though that like you don't choose your parents. You're stuck with your mom until you're 200 years old in this economy, right? So are you making sure that you are communicating? And when I say communicating, it's not like, mom, you're so fucking thick, man. Do you understand anything? No. To communicate with another person, you have to speak to them in a tone that can convey the message. You have to say, listen, what happens when you do this? All right. It makes it difficult for me, right? So I came to you because of this issue with the spider and the way you are effectively rejecting me with your words, and that's very incredibly hurtful, and it makes it difficult, right? With trust or whatever the issues are, right? My wife still has strong fear of spiders. For the past 25 years, I've taken care of that. Yeah, I am the spider removal person in this house as well, and I do not love these things, right? But doing that, I started touching spiders, right? So when there's like smaller spiders around, I will make a point of picking them up. The spiders don't like that, but I don't like it either. So we're kind of even. But if there's a Dave sitting on the wall and it's the size of my palm, that thing is getting the boot, man. Like not touching that thing with a 6-foot barge pole, right? All right. But this is the sad thing as well, Skylar, that parents grown up as myself, we don't remember what it's like to be your age, right? I haven't been your age in what century are we in, right? 2,000 years maybe. Yeah, but here's the thing, Skylar, right? If you saw tiny itty bitty spider committee hanging from a spider web, would you dare to touch that, right? You don't have to answer in the chat, just answer to yourself. And if the answer is yes, I wanted to make a point of doing these things, right? It's kind of like almost like an exposure therapy thing, right? It's very, very good, very useful. I have to do a lot of shit I don't want to do, man. Oh, I hate it with a passion, right? But there's no medical professional has told me to go and touch spiders. That's all me, right? That's my choice. Where do we dump the identity here, right? I wonder if they've seen the issue here. I have not paid attention to this thing, right? No one has seen that. Okay. I'm pretty sure this thing had like a third generation thing. Certainly, we looked at this before that, right? Or after that. What? Maybe I'm looking at the wrong example. Gen cert. Maybe it's in here where they dump the hash, right? Here we go. Okay, so it is the certificate chain. Okay. I thought so, but I didn't know. So we just need to say identity certificate chain, and then that's a function as slice. Whoops. Well, I mean, as a bunny person, right? I find snakes unpleasant, right? It's not that snakes they are very impressive animals, but they kind of die if you don't take care of them, unlike children and bunnies. I'm on my 16th child by now, by the way. So certificate cert is this. And then how do we deal with this thing, right? We do certificate chain as slice, and then we do serial. That's how we get this thing, and then we just dump this. Do we? No, it's the hash we want. Certificate hash as slice dot hash. And then we're supposed to just print this. No, we have to call this format. Famously immortal, absolutely, right? wife comes home, it's like a completely different baby there. It's like, what happened to the baby? I don't know what you're talking about. It's the same baby as when you left. No, it isn't. You're getting old, honey, okay? It's the same baby. That one is Chinese. No, don't be a racist, okay? It's the same baby. All right, sha. All right, we're almost there. Bytes array. There we go, right? Oh, we called them Dave Rensky. Yeah, I mean, like if they're in the corners, they're fine. If they're on the floor heading in my general direction, if the spider trajectory or vector of the spider is aligning, if it's raycasting in my direction, it gets the boot, right? Okay, let's print out the hash. No, yes, maybe. Okay, so that's the thing, right? And if we are gonna use that, what do we need to pass in here? We need to pass in hash s. Okay, so can we pass in... What does this look like? Can we just copy this and dump that in there, right? I guess we can't pass in just like hash bytes here. Spider swept AAB must not intersect. No. Okay, let's see. What do we do here? Configures the client skips the method. Configures the client accepts service certificates with digest. Wow, is it bedtime already? No, it isn't. Okay. Do I have to look at this? No, buy, insta buy. Where was I? I was here. Why is there supposed to be many? Okay. Well, I guess we have to make this first, right? So how do we make you from, new. What? Why is there an extra byte in there? Come on. Which byte is the extra byte then? One of these bytes does not belong. Which one is it? We made a song about the bytes that doesn't belong. All right. Sorry. Do something. First, last, I don't know, right? Because I don't know what this freaking thing is. Okay, what if we generate some kind of hex monarchy out of this? Will that be good? Oh, hang on. No. Don't hang on. Hello, stop using AI. What a name, man. What a name. In this day and age as well, right? Only if you insist. I mean, I'm kind of with you there, right? I had this conversation with a friend of mine who makes music, and we're talking about like pre-production stuff, and it's not uncommon if you're making music that you will you're in a band or whatever, but you don't actually record the drums. You just have like a drum loop from some random place that you just put in there and whatever, right? That's not uncommon. And then you replace the drums later, right? And he was like saying like, but you can use AI to generate drums and stuff. And I said, but like and he used to be a drummer as well, right? I said, but what if you are, what if like someone takes your work and they don't give you any credit, right? But you didn't quite agree on that, right? That's where it gets a little bit hairy, right? And not to mention that once you like throw AI into the mix, you're gonna struggle with the copyright thing as well, right? But when it comes to like art and stuff like that, and absolutely, right? Don't do that, right? Why is this thing not working, right? Can we generate something other than a bytes array from the format, right? Okay, we do bytes array. Can we do dotted hex then and see what that looks like? So let's do dotted hex. Okay, so we have another input string this time, right? Let hex equals like that. No, it's all good, man. I'm just we have so many of these conversations. It's all good, right? From sex, no, from stir, is it? Shit. FMT stir, maybe? Okay, so we are gonna use this. And then probably dotted hex, right? And that's just gonna be hex. That's just the hash now, right? Okay, that was fine. As a matter of fact, that even worked, right? So the thought here is that if we can just build this into the if we just build this into the server, when we're testing this, we can just dump the hash and copy and paste that in there. So we have this self-signed certificate that we can like regenerate every now and then, right? I think that would be fine. Let's try it out though, right? Message. All right, we're good. No second message though, but that's also okay. Did we ever call finish? We did. Oh yeah. Oh wow, we are waiting forever there. That ain't gonna happen. Okay. All right. A redo. I have to see the messages are actually coming through. Yes, we are good. All right. Whoo, Nelly. Right, so let's build this as a convenience thing into this, right? Right now, Rensky, we are doing some convenience stuff, right? The way I'm approaching this is, since I don't quite know what it's gonna look like, I'm sort of starting from somewhere. And then I'm removing friction from using this. So right now, the goal is to, with as little friction as possible, be able to get a server running, even though the server will do nothing. But the important thing is to have a listener on the server. And my thoughts are that we can just have a function to dump the hash for self-signed certificates. So you can just copy the hex string over to the client. So when you want to connect, you just give it the hex string, right? This is for when we want to use self-signed certificates, right? So what are we working on? We're working on making it easy to run this locally with self-signed certificates without having to go through like certbot or any of that guff, right? Or run, the alternative is with the security turned off, which I might have not done. Okay, excellent. All right, there we go. So let's have a way to make a listener for this thing, right? So with listener, that would be, what does that look like? That looks like this just says to-do. Right, okay, so let's have a look at what a listener looks like. It's an endpoint. Oh my god, Christoph, welcome. Welcome, Raiders. How you doing? It's a raid back. How you going? Oh, well, I feel like this might not be that much of an issue, Rensky. I totally get it, but I think that we can work around that. How you doing, Christopher? How was your stream? Oh, man, I so wanted to get into the conversation with you yesterday about because we just talked about... Thank you so much, Christoph. Thank you, buddy. We just talked about some stuff. When I read you yesterday, you were talking about your frustration with people telling you what to do. And that very same day before that, I had gone through like a conversation about how we have in that, I have to say, in that specific conversation, we had two different archetypes of program, two different boxes of programmers, right? And I was saying, to sum it up, not starting off the conversation again, sum it up is like, we have the people who like to use it, the people who don't like to use it, and then there's friction between these two groups because they talk about programming as if they are all part of the same group, right? But yeah, so I kind of I wanted to get into the conversation a little bit with you and hear what your thoughts were about that. But at that point, I was just dying from food lackery. So yes. Anyway, did you have a good stream? I think not in this case, Rensky, but we're about to find out, all right? We're about to find out. So let's have a listener here. What does that look like? A listener is Nelly. Interesting. Okay. Well, anyway, welcome, Reddit. I hope you enjoyed whatever Christoph was doing. Was it a language today? It was good. Fuss my stuff, found bugs. We should try to organize a chat then. I'm available next week if you want. Yeah, I could do that. Oh, wait. Am I available next week? I have to look. I tried to find a time for doing a game jam, but my coming schedule is so crazily packed with stuff in like the next couple of weeks. But there might be, I might be able to have a weekend or a day during the weekend that I could do. It could be even tomorrow, right? I don't know. The wife's out tonight, so there's probably going to be a lot of solo parenting tomorrow, though. So I don't know how my availability will be, but I can try. Okay, there we go, right? So I think maybe we pass the listener in as we're building this up, right? So when we call finish on this thing, we should have the required listener. So it would be nice if we could write something like builder dot dump hat or like self-signed dump hash and then build. So doing something like that would be good. So that way, when you run it, you see the data that you need to copy and paste up to get to where you want to go, right? Yeah, if you didn't know, sorry, parenting again, right? Hmm. Yeah. Okay. So I'm thinking that API wise, this would feel kind of pleasant to work with, right? So we do something like with address, um, and then the port is lol because that's how it works. So it's localhost, right? Okay. So what are the alternatives of doing this? Like, what's the we can build from the world, right? So to be able to finish, we need a listener as well, right? So we have the world, no listener, no, with listener, and that is the endpoint that we are craving to find happiness, right? Uh, okay, so once we have the world, we can maybe do with listener here. Maybe the builder can just be started with the world, right? Maybe this is not necessary because there's no reason to even have this. So we do no listener instead, and then we chuck the world in there. And then note that. So then this is a no listener setup, right? So then we have to pass the world in. And that's a no listener. So it's all about building up the listener here, right? Then this doesn't exist. What are you griping about? There we go. We can only do this with the listener. I think this is wrong. All right, we can put that here, right? There is no reason for that to not be there, right? You cannot get to one without the other. Thank you, super cool type system, right? Da, 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 da. Can't find the world in super. That is super bad. Wait, where are you? Server mod. Oh, crapulation. That's what that looks like. Well, I guess we can relax that here and then just say where that's our world. You gotta have the world, otherwise you get nowhere. And that's gonna be the world, indeed. You mean the world to me, okay? What do you want from me? So it's gonna have no listener and then the dubs there, right? Ah, right. Okay, I goofed up. Okay. I ungoofed. There we go. Okay, we're not ready for this yet. There we go. Right. So let's observe our states, how things are flowing, right? We have the mouse. Come on, man. All right, it works now. So we have the server builder, which contains the world state and the connection state, right? So that's the listener state. So with frame time, just updates the frame time. I don't think there's anything else that we're going to change for now, but we have it there if we wanted to. Okay. So this is generic for any server that we have, right? We make a new one. We're going to have the world be associated with self there. And then we can have a... So now we have to build up the listener. And that's where things can get a little bit wonky. Okay. So we can do... oh, man. We need certificates, right? No identity is the first one. And then we have with identity. And that's an identity. And then what's an identity? Well, whatever they say it is, right? So really it's the no identity. We need to step back once in the chain, right? So no identity. Okay, so how do we create an identity? Well, there are a few ways we can do it, but we can start by just doing our own generation of key files, right? So we can temporarily generate these files, right? So for now, obviously, you might not want to just dump two certain key files somewhere, right? But for now, it doesn't really matter, right? So we go about this. So let's go with pub function self sign that takes ownership of self. And what does this thing return, right? It returns not self, but a server builder with an identity. This is most likely going to be subject to some kind of result bullshittery, right? So we'll have to do that. And then, of course, we always have to attach our W. Let's make the W the root of this type, right? So this, swapping these around is going to lead to some beautiful errors if we don't go and fix that, right? So no identity here, no identity. We have to go back to super and... no identity has to come after the world, right? So there we go. Okay, that's better. And then I was in the midst of writing something apparently, and I just stopped. There we go, right? So the identity comes after the world. Okay, so self sign should generate something that has an identity, right? And then we can write an implementation block for this guy where we have an identity. And why are you doing that? Okay, never mind. Dump hash. I think maybe that's what we called it. Oh, it doesn't matter. Okay, so now that we have an identity, we can now dump the hash. We could distinguish between the two identities, right? But to not make things too complicated. What am I looking at here? What is this? Multipants? No, we're not ready for you yet. We'll come back to you shortly. Here's where I want to go, right? So we are looking at this to get the hash that we can then print. So the identity is going to be self.state. And then what's inside is just the first one, right? There is no understanding here of what this is, so let's bring that in. This thing's gonna keep griping, but we know where the error is, so we don't care, right? So we can just print out the hash at this point and then return self. So this kind of follows what we do. Now, I do wonder if dumping the hash should only be possible with self-signed certificates, right? So we can have with identity and with self-signed identity. So we distinguish between these two. So you cannot dump the hash for an identity that isn't self-signed because that doesn't really matter, right? It started to look a little bit Java-esque here, so you can flex your beans. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. That sounded overtly sexual, but you can think about that and imagine that this is now Java that we're dealing with, right? So if we do self-signed, we return a self-signed. Apparently not. Okay. With self-signed. So with signed identity. There we go. So now we have to generate the self-signed identity. So we can look at this thing. We're gonna load the pen files, but that's not enough. We have to generate the self-signed certificate. So in that case, we have to give it a path. So why don't we do this first? Right? Path function generate certs, and that's gonna return self. No, that makes them self-signed, right? Rubbish. So this is a little bit goofy to do, right? It's a little bit goofy to do, but I mean, we like to do goofy things, do we not? Oops. Okay, let's look at how we generate that in CertGen. So the first thing we do is self-signed. We have to have the address for that. And then, you know what? Hello, copy and paste, my only friend. No, we said here. All right, this is gross. Let's deal. Okay, so this has to be our I know, Rensky, it's punishable with the death, right? It's not the problem that I used it with Vim, it's the problem is I used it in Tmux, right? That's the issue, because I don't have my system clipboard available in Vim, like some kind of security nerd, right? Our cert file is just going to be cert, and this thing is an async function, and this is our key. Okay, don't look. Okay, so identity, await, blah and blah. So we need the host for this. So we do need an address before we get here. So no identity is actually no address. I think we can depend on that, right? So no address. Like so. No fix for you. And then with identity now becomes identity and address is our socket address. Okay. The same thing is true here. And then with listener, That's not really required. This is the final one. So we generate the list. So this one is a kind of goofy thing to do, right? So we're probably not gonna deal with that one. Okay, you and you need to sort yourself out, right? There's no with list in here. No, that thing is just a big old pocket of dirt. Context can be had if we do context here, even though we probably shouldn't, but we can do so if we please. All right, so self-sign gives us one with a self-sign certificate. Do we have the identity? Yes, of course we do. So we're going to return okay. Let's grab you and dump you in there. Actually, that's... don't dump people. You are not person. Okay, so server builder will have self. But before we do that, we're going to go into state and we're going to create with self-signed. Okay. And what do we need for this? We need an identity and an address. Okay. Identity and address. And the address comes from self.state.0 because this can only be called on self with an address. So that's the implementation. We don't need that anymore here. We don't need that bound there, right? Where we have an address. Okay. No, hang on. Where are you? That goes there. Oh, right. Yeah, can't just leave that in there, can we? Can't find an address. Is it with address, maybe? Yeah, it's with address, not just address. Which means the first value is the address, like so. Right, if you're following along so far, I'm impressed, but this is where you get off. All right. Expected a server builder. Yeah, all right, so we can't use self here. We can't destructure self, right? We still need to pass in the frame time. So frame time is self to frame time. Annoying, but such is the way, okay? And what are we missing now? We're missing the world. Okay, so world is just self.world, right? So we added one additional line of code here, like a pleb. But then again, we can do self.state. Let's see. You know what? No, I'd rather not. Okay. So this is a hash of identity. Identity. Can't spell identity without T something. I don't know. You work it out, man. This is difficult stuff. Where's my mouse cursor? I need to check this out. Right. Okay. Here we go. All right. So we can now build a server. We can dump the hash. What's the alternative to doing a self-signed identity then, right? Well, that is with identity. With custom TLS, with custom transport. I think we have something like with, or maybe we always need this, the cert file stuff, right? Huh. Okay, so that's not a problem then, right? So for now, we have self-signed. The alternative would be to do something not self-signed. So we're going to do something that looks a little bit like this. So with certs. So key and me. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what's the alternative here now? Identity load PEM files. So we do with identity here. That's what we're looking for, right? where did you get that from? That comes from the server config. Oh, right. We just, okay, so we just store the paths then, right? So instead of having a self-signed identity, we have with cert paths, right? So cert is a path buff, and key is also a path buff, right? Which is fine as long as we import path buff, right? Whoops. Extra whoops. We want that buff path. Are you still here, Christoph? Shit. Guessing he has gone to enjoy his life. There we go. All right. Okay. So we do the self sign of storing these, and then we do with search. Load PEM files to get the identity, right? So if we're using tmux, now we're copy and pasting without the mouse. So that will be the correct thing to do, right? Okay, so here we get an identity as opposed to self-signed identity. That is not self-signed. That is just a with identity instead. Okay. So it did look like that in the end, right? With identity. There we go. So we need to have the cert, and is it the other way around? Is it cert and key? Is that how people think about this? Cert and key? Apparently not. You know what? I don't know. Maybe there was no rhyme, no reason, right? When this thing was put together. Okay, so that gives us the identity, and then that's async. That's fine. The state is with identity. And what do we have to pass in here? We have to pass in the socket address. Well, we already have that as part of this, yeah. So we could just slap that on there. And then we return, okay, with all of this code, right? Well, I mean, don't be a muppet now. And this is not self-signed. So we're going to take that away. Whoopsie. Rust format to the rescue. Well, that's just the identity. And then the socket address is just that. Ooh, Nelly. Wait, don't do that twice. Oopsie. Okay, so we pass in the certificates. So we get an identity here, and the self-signed identity can then dump the hash, whereas the non-self-signed one cannot. All right, and I think that makes this thing a lot more beautiful, right? Now, sadly, you can't OR types in Rust. Skill issue, right? But we just have to deal, right? Well, blah, blah, blah. What do we do with this thing after we have this? Then we can finish this, right? And that should take us to where? What did I write now? Question is, do I want to write the same function implementation in two different places or not, right? Generally, the answer is no to that, but I think we're going to have to do that here so we can retain the dump function and not have to add a secondary step from here that converts a self-signed identity into a signed identity, some generic identity, right? So we end up with the final thing here where we finish. Text self definitely returns a result of some kind. We know what it's going to be. It's going to be a result of super server dubs, right? But we have to write this function into a second implementation here where we don't have a self-signed identity, but we don't have the dump hash function there, right? Like this. It is the one server indeed. So if we wanted to omit this, we would have to make this function return this, right? Actually, as I say that out loud, we can. I'm being a cod piece here, right? So we're just gonna convert one state into another. So we do this. And then we need to see what fields we're gonna pass in here. That duration state is going to be okay, right. Listen, you are clearly confused. That's okay. That's what happens when you're young. No, shit, you're not confused at all. You're doing the right thing. Damn it. Unconfuse yourself, right? Self.frame time. State is with identity, where the identity is self.state.identity, and the address is self.state.address, and then the world is just self.world. And then here, we're just going to call finish without the H. Like so. There we go, right? Now we're getting there, right? No Lisp. Well, I mean, sometimes when I feel like it, right? But I'm trying not to do it because it's a bit weird and it's a bit uncomfortable to do it. Oh shit, you meant language server. Yeah, we got this. Look at this. Good definition. Bam. Oh, panic. Get out of here. Right. All right. So let's create the server then, right? And then return OK server. What a like long journey to get here. Also, we should probably just print that out, not print that, right? Print this out. So what are we dumping in here, right? All of this stuff, right? But we have to have the listener now. But since we have an address, we can create a listener, and that's going to be the most important thing, right? So the world is just self.world. Sparse empty listener. We're going to make one of those alpha setup, right? Frame times cool. Let listener is equal to. Now we have to make the endpoint, right? Because this is supposed to be an endpoint. Whoops, that's supposed to be an endpoint. Why is it a bool? What in the ever-loving sausages is going on here? An endpoint server, right? And we can just look at this one here. Blah, 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 build. So server config builder. That's what we're going to start with now, right? Server config, which probably needs to be imported, right? More LSP. Builder without the U. What are you, German? 9. Okay. With bind address. Okay, so with bind address, which is self.state.address. I think maybe is it bind address? Yes, it is. And then with identity, self.state.identity. Feel like a train. Keep alive interval. That one has to come from self as well, right? So with keep alive Alice interval. Okay, something is wrong here. That's okay. And then probably one word, isn't it? Oh, right. You have to type out the whole word. What is this for muggles? With keep alive interval. No, it's not with. There we go. All right. Okay. Now the keep alive interval is something that we can slap onto this one, right? So keep alive interval, which is an option of a duration. Yeah. Keep alive interval. Easy. Right, but not quite. So we start that one off with none, and then here. Done. But we have to be able to set the keep alive interval to. Well, not 2, but you know what I mean. So any implementation for the server builder can set the frame time. Oh shit! I see. I've written all this above here. Here we go. Right. With keep alive. So this can be set at any moment in time, right? That has to be mutable. We can't set anything. Whew, unless we do this. Yeah, why did I do that? That's a weird thing to do. How awkward, right? Sorry, you had to see that. Yikes. Okay, so once we have this for our listener, we probably... Well, we have the keep alive interval. So self.keepAlive interval is now set. What else do we need? Then we need to build this thing. I gotta stop shaking my leg, I'm sorry. Why could this fail then? It can't. So this one does not return a result. Crap. Well, not crap. Update signature. Okay. Is this right now? Can we create a listener? Yes, we can. And we can dump that. We still don't have any means of setting up the client, but that's okay. Right? Okay. So we just go through the builder, set it up however we want, and then we just run it, right? Multipants server. Here we create the server, but that ain't right. So this thing returns the builder, right? And we get there. Okay, so we have to build this thing or finish this thing, right? But we can't call finishing this because it doesn't exist, right? Do we have to await the builder? I feel like that might be a bit of an incorrectness there. There is no reason for that to be async. The run function, yes. That function, nay. Right? Nedge. Okay. So no awaiting, but finish shouldn't work. All right? We have to go through the steps of setting this up. So once we have our builder, we will say self sign and then just give it some paths, right? Cert.pem, key.pem, right? Is it key? Apparently we cannot self sign yet. What are you missing? No address. Okay, so with address. Now that probably takes an address rather than something that can parse into an address. So let's fix that. Oh, we don't even have a means to generate with address. Let's get rid of this guff though. That looks a bit dirty and weird. Yeah, that doesn't exist, right? Okay, well, how do we go from no address to... so then we do pub function with address self, and then anything that implements... implements into what? We have to be able to parse... we have to be able to parse some... So anything that can parse, right? Brain is not braining. Where are you, brain? Okay, here we go. So parse socket address, and let's find this. Why can we do this? We can do this because of the from stir implementation, right? So so what does that look like? So this one provides from stir. And what does from stir look like? Well, Rust from stir. Let's have a look. It's a trait. It's not too late for a trait. No, that's just a string slice, right? But there is no... Okay, this is really annoying. Rust is a shit language, and you can see that here, right? What can I say? Jokes aside, there is no way that we can say into a socket address, right? Let's look at the TCP socket, maybe. No, that doesn't exist. Let's look at the TCP stream connection, maybe. So the connect function looks how? What? Wait, connect. There we go. To socket address. That's what we're looking for, right? So anything that implements to socket address, which has to be its own custom trait because of the whole try from didn't exist when from stir was created, and now that's our burden to carry for the rest of our rustic lives, right? But okay, we can find something else to cry about. Okay, so what did I just say? To socket address, and that returns self. No, it doesn't. It returns a server builder address. What does this thing actually look like? Whoops. Is that in plural, maybe, perhaps? Yes, because life is just that complicated, right? We have to convert this into socket address, but this could generate, or this could yield multiple addresses. So we have to pick one, right? Ugh, right. So we call to socket address, which gives us a result back, right? So let address equals address dot to socket. Whoops, PS again, right? Question mark, and then we call next on that, and then we unwrap that. We're not going to leave that unwrapped, all right? We're being a smidge naughty here, right? With address props, right? Ugh, result, if you say so. Okay, so then here we can do... Does anyhow have a means to bail with... Okay, let's have a look. Docs rs anyhow. can we bail from an option here, right? We're just going to find bail, not to be confused with barley, which is a place. So that returns an error. So we could just map that to the error, maybe. What does ensure do? If a condition is not satisfied. Cool, but no. Cool. What does this mean? Is there sounds in here? Volume? Huh. I didn't know this. That's new. When did Twitch get sound notifications on the activity feed? All right. Well, okay. Anyhow, but no, I think bail is probably enough for us, right? All right. Anyway, server build that's gonna have all of the above, right? So that is, nope. This is the one that is with address now, and that has the address in there. We only want one, so they will be singular. We'll take the first one, and then that will be self.keepalive. Okay, that's sort of okay, no? Well, that's our instance, and we're returning a result here. Otherwise, the parsing can't work. But we can't do that. So we say let some, some address else bail. No available socket address. That's very unlikely that's gonna actually happen, right? It's weird to call macros with the path, right? But we'll do it, right? I mean, it's only weird if you're old and terrible, but okay. How we do for time? We're looking good. So we can now call with address. Localhost 105 seem to be the going address. Question mark. Is that even in here? It was not. Ooh, gnarly. No. Why is there no? Once you get the builder, you get the no address builder. That returns a no address one. Oh, with address. Oh, my laziness is hurting. Okay, and then we can self-sign, but there's no finish there, right? Why is there no finish on self-sign? Well, we're gonna find out. There is with search. No, it isn't. I think this is an async function. Okay. Can this thing fail? It can. There we go. Wow, that's it. But we should now also be able to do dump hash here. And we can. So if we run this now, do we get a hash or do we get a goulash? We did get a hash. There we go, right? Server builder 161. Okay. Oh, well, that's just the listener, right? Just remove that and we're good. Now, found server config. What have I been doing then? That's not the listener. Damn it. What have I been doing? Endpoint, server, and then config. So it's the config that we're getting here, okay? And then listener is endpoint, server, config. Do you need to await? And no, but it is a result. So there we don't go. Okay. But, oh, right. This thing doesn't return a result. Silly sausage. All right. So we already did that. And then that is a result. So this might look a bit chaotic, but that's because it is. But this means that we can now start a server, right? That's it. That was us running and very, very briefly running a server and then ditching it, right? And here's the hash that we need to dump into our client to connect. Do we want to write the connection code now? We have the server thing. Let's put, it's kind of awkward to put the client inside the server, but I am kind of awkward, so that's okay, right? Server module, there we go. Mod client. Let's pub use client. So we expose our client. Let's go back to our pants, multi-pants, and then let's go to the client here. Async main. Do we have Tokyo? We do not. Okay, we're gonna make this thing. I am real programmer. Are you real? Let's see what we can do. We have probably on the server, if we look at the TOML file, we see that we have Tokyo here, right? There's no, okay. For you, Rensky, no mouse, okay? Tmux moves, right? If we're gonna Tmux, then we're gonna cat dash p so we don't get no filthy line numbers in there, right? Like a pleb. Let's open up our cargo TOML here and let's add another workspace dependency. Whoopsie. There we go, all right? So now we can get use of Tokyo from both the server and the client. Whoops, that's the wrong thing. Server, TOML, and then Tokyo is simply now workspace is true. And that means that for the client, we can do the same thing. Workspace is true. Shit. Missing the equal sign. There we go, right? Okay, hang on. Did I do that? Server TOML file. Look at that. I'm goofing out left, right, and center. So let's run a check here. And that's fine. And the client, we can trust that the client is fine because that one was fine, right? All right, so let's use joy server everything for the client as well. So maybe we don't call it server. Maybe we call it net instead. That would make some kind of sense, wouldn't it? Right? So in we go. Move server into net and source over in source net server and client. All right. So let's move the client RS into client mod RS and let's just move everything else in here into the server. So we have the builder, the connection. The world stays put. That can be in the module itself. All right, cool bananas. Let's trying to save this. That makes no sense, right? Let's go to the to our lib, and where we have server, we now have to change that to net. That to net. That means that our feature is now net, and our default feature has net in it because we want to include them when we build, right? Do I have a dream? I have many dreams. Some of them good, some of them less good. Although that sounds like I have like a dream of like murdering people, right? Which only happens rarely, and we don't talk about that. So client should not be a module here, should it? Yes, it should. It's the builder. So that's the server here. And then what's a connection? That kind of belongs to the server. Do we have, you know what? This whole thing is actually the server module. So net, let's move the module here into server mod.rs, and then let's add one here. So now we can have a pub mod, if I can spell, server client, swap them around, and we're getting somewhere. Mod server is not needed because that is what this is. There is no client there because that's in the root of the netcode. The world exists in the root here, or in here instead, right? But I don't think it should be. I think the world can just replace that. So we put the world in here, right? There's no problems of having large files in Rust, okay? So we don't need to overcomplicate things, right? That becomes super world instead, which means it's a great world. We're not going to use that, so we can get rid of that. Client for the server, no. We got to make sure that the server modules or the net modules are public though, as they are, and so is the trait. All right, cool beans. Builder comes from the server, so it comes from here. So mod builder with a D and everything. That is correct. Why is... No, it's in the net, right? Oh, right. We could write this, but that would make us clinically insane. So we're not going to do that. So we're just going to say, we're just going to import the world, right? So use create net or world, like so, right? There we go. So now we can just refer to it as the world. Well, we can if we import it, right? Oh yeah, look at that. There are 3 warnings to boot. That is not bad. Okay, so we have the world or the server builder. Now we're going to add the client builder. And this means that we've taken most of the friction of setting up out of the equation, right? We made a few choice decisions, but I think they're fine. All right. Okay, let's go to our connection. No, let's go to our client here, and let's start with the client builder. So new source. Well, do we need a client builder? Let's have a look. We don't need the hash bytes. We need a hex. We need this. We need to be able to do this, right? I'm not convinced about this, I have to say. Well, these are 2 choices that we need, right? I didn't hear a sound. I don't think they have notification sounds on Twitch. I mean, they show them, but I don't think they work. Anyway, thank you for the follow. Thank you for confirming that they don't work, or my own voice is so loud that I can't hear anything, which is also very likely. Out of tea. Okay, then let's see. We end up with a client builder where we have the native search versus server certificates. We are connecting to an endpoint. This thing is kind of freaking me out a little bit, right? I mean, we could just default to everything here, right? This is a very awkward setup, I have to say. This does make it awkward. So it's either local v4, v6, or dual, and then the whole if supported thing. Nah, that's gonna crash, right? You could think that you can default this, but that is also gonna crash if it's not actually supporting IPv6. If you might have been tinkering with your kernel and removed that, right? So I'm a little bit uncertain about this one, right? We need to have with bind config with, so this one is gonna do us in, right? What about with bind address? Why don't we try that instead? So we have an address somewhere. Wait, why do we have to pass? Okay, this is confusing the socket out of me. Right, we're gonna make some changes and we're gonna make sure that it actually works, right? So the first thing we're gonna do is do the address thing, right? So with blah blah with bind address, right? The print, there we go. Or let's go with 127.0.0.1 12345 and then really oh mother of 5 chin. Okay, right. Okay, so is this gonna work? Well, why don't we find out? Whoops, I'm not gonna find out if we delete the code. Address already in use. Wait, what? That is very confusing. We're not running anything on that. No. Wait, why are we getting an address already in use error here? For the client builder. Is it this thing? Well, why don't we just grab the whoops? Why don't we just grab this and replace this with that, right? It's a little bit awkward, but so am I, so it'll be fine. Now, address already in use. What an awkward error. What is the interconnect option though? And are we gonna see what? Okay. For connect options. Okay. What are connect options then? A URL and some headers. Maybe bind address is just goofing things up here a little bit. Okay, this one wants the root store, and that doesn't work if we are gonna use our own. No, once root store is true for all of them. Okay, nope, ignore that. And we're not gonna pass the socket in either. This is really awkward. This is definitely throwing my head a little bit. Right? Sets the local socket address for the endpoint. Oh, wait a second. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. So we are creating our own ad. Okay, I goofed up. Okay, I'm so sorry. Yeah, right. Also, shit. So that is not at all what it is. Yeah, right. Okay, so smart guy, right? We're not setting the remote address. We're setting the local address, right? Okay. This is a really awkward API now. So either we have with local or with remote, but that's kind of stupid, right? Does this actually work here? If we do this. Yeah, this works fine. And what if we use this? Like, is there a reason not to use that? Right? Apparently not. Right? So why even set that? Right? When would you not want that? If we go any dual, I think this will just flip out in colors, right? I think this will shit the bed. Yeah. Because it's not supported. We're not going to bother with that. But I think this could be the default, right? So this can be the default for now as we start with this thing. And then if bullshit ensues, then that's fine, right? So these are the two options that we have, right? If we use native search, this thing will not work now. It's like, no, all right? So we have to have the option to use native or with server certificate hashes where we just bong in the hex value, right? Okay, so that seems pretty good to me. Let's make a new source, net client builder.rs. Mod builder pub struct builder. Is it a builder or client builder? It doesn't matter. I can't spell either. Okay, server builder. That is server builder. Okay, so client builder. Consistency is key. Let's implement client. No world. Whoops. Client builder. I don't know what we're going to have there. That's going to be builder. No search. I think that's what we're going to end up with, right? So what would you like to put in when you establish a client? Well, most functioning human beings, of which I know none, would probably prefer to put in a socket address, right? So let's store a socket address on here. Bosh, there we go. Let's add a new function. And let's implement anything that implements to socket addr s. Right, which again leads us to what? Missing parameter. You're not missing anything. What are you on about? New. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna have the address here, right? That is so awkward that we have to use this one. Client builder has, okay, it's not generic over anything. So let's say, whoa, smell fire. State T, there we go. Then this is the no search implementation. And because this thing can fail to parse or whatever, right? Return result. That will be anyhow result, right? Ah, so nice when things are just working, right? What's that word again? Jinx? Two sockets. All right, so that's our address. And then our state is what? No search. So our, wait, what are you on about? All right, that's our instance that we are returning, not the thingy-bob itself, right? So then we pass in adder, and that's our result, which means we need to use, nope, down here, anyhow, result, whoops. Bit of leet speak right there, isn't it? Okay. Then we pass in that. So where are we now in this planet here, right? We need a certificate, right? So either with native search or with service certificate hashes, right? Either way, it's going to give us the same thing. I'd imagine that's once transport client, whatchamacallit. And this one is called once transport client, or whatever, right? So either of these will work. And what have they done? They have set up the client config builder at that point, right? So we can create the endpoint. Is that correct? Yeah, I would say so. So pubstruct with endpoint that holds the endpoint. And in this case, it's going to be endpoint client side. Let's go to the root of this. That's the net module. There we go. Right. So server has the server side. Client will now have the client side. And that's probably a client in there. Yes, there is. Okay. Now we just have to use this from super. That's kind of weird. Why would you do that? This is just going to be super instead, right? There's no reason to have all of that jazz. Endpoint doesn't exist, so we're going to bring that into our scope there. Still no sound, but thank you for the follow. Okay, so that's it. So now we have with endpoint. How do we generate an endpoint? What do we need for that? We need to have a config. All right. So once we've done client config builder, which we're going to default to that, and then we'll make that an option in the future, should we want to, then we have to decide between these two. So let's start with the config builder. Is this going to return a config builder? Yes, it does, right? So we can store the config builder on the self here, right? So client builder state, I think that's going to get a bit goofy, right? I think it's going to get a bit goofy, right? Let's see how this works. Right? So function with hashes, is that right? With hash with singular, right? Yeah, I saw that. With server certificate hashes. Ugh, that's a long one. Okay. With server cert hash. And then we need to take the hash in. And what does that look like? That's probably that. Oh, gross. But I suppose we should copy that after all. Yeah. And that is that client config. Yeah. Okay. Here are the long states, right? That's not correct, by the way. Okay, this looks like a problematic one in terms of how we lay out the code, right? This could be a little bit gross if we're not careful. Client config builder. Oh, shit. Okay. Just have to finish this. Right, just making sure that my child knows that I haven't forgotten about her, because I had indeed forgotten about her, right? Like every good parent will do every now and then. Okay, so we get the client config builder from either of these. So maybe what we do here is we store this in self as the state. Could we? Okay, hang on. Let's finish the code, right? Yeah. Let's just do this just to get this thing to be quiet. Okay. With service certificate hashes is one option, and the other one is with root. Whatchamacallit, with native search. Okay. Pub function. Whoops. With native search. Whoops. So we can do all of this and then make the endpoints. So we don't have to do this. Okay, look at this. We'll do this. So here we are. Okay, you know what? Set paste. Whoops. Set no paste because I don't like the paste. So we get the client builder. That one is true. We want this one for the other one. And then we do the build here. And then we create the endpoint, which makes this an async function. And the connection is going to be... this is awkward. I think this might be a bit weird. Not to mention it might not work. Let hash equals hashes into iter.next.unwrap, and then we just wing it. You are not returning that. That is gross and spectacular. We'll come back to you shortly. Okay, how did I pass that in here? Right. That's what we do with the hash. Which is beans. We're actually passing in the hex, right? Okay, get rid of that. That is a little bit more what I wanted, maybe. That can probably fail though, can't it? Or not? No, I think we've been through this. That has to return a result or something. We are clearly going to store the client on self, right? This method takes whatever. All right, do we have to format this? This part I am very uncomfortable with, right? This does not look kosher to me. Okay, let's finish this. That's a client. That's a super client. That's how great it is, right? So let's have our super. You know what? We might as well, right? Or without the W, right? Okay, so what do we need for the client? Probably just the endpoint, right? Hi, sweetie. Huh? They are. are pretty loud. How you doing? Yeah, we can totally do that. Just gonna like I'm literally just finishing up this thing here. Go for it. I'll be right up. Ship. What do you give us? You give us a connection. Oh, not an endpoint. Oh, I goofed up. Is that right? Oh, it is right. Oh, baby. That's so right. It's almost wrong, right? Sadly, there is no way of shortening this mess, right? We have to... Actually, we have to copy this entire function. And there's no hex involved in this. And there's not an extra bracket either. Whoops, whoops. Fine. Unclose the limiter, you goofball. Wait, where did you come in? Nice. Okay, and there's no hex there. This is not needed. Okay, well, we have a client now. That was easy. That supports both native and that. So what does this look like if you're actually going to use them? Let's have a look at the server first. Whoops, it's the wrong client. All right, so that... Whoa, good grief. Hello? Net. With the server, we can use that. That's just gonna be that's in the root there. All right, cool bananas. We're on this. We're in the server. Okay, so this is what it looks like to set up the server. This is not a lot of grief, right? And it dumps the hash for us. So by self-signing, we can get the option to see whatever output we need. And there it is, right? And if we then plug that into our client, which, where am I? Here we go. So let's do client is builder. What are we passing into the builder, right? Nothing. Can't find the client. Okay. Where are you? Net module. We should probably re-export those though, shouldn't we? So here we use server. I think that we should make this work, right? So we are going to pub use client, and server, right? So this should now compile. You're in the wrong place. Apparently you're not. Oh yeah, so you want an argument, right? You get an argument, right? So this is where we're connecting to. I guess we could have passed in the full address here, couldn't we? I think I goofed up. Okay, we can make this better. I didn't feel good about it, but I do see it now, right? So what we pass into connect should be a URL, right? So instead of doing that, we'll put the URL on here instead, right? So URL is, I doubt we can just call it a URL. That's probably beans. Okay, something that implements interconnect options, which is implemented for what? Probably for a string, no? S where S implements toString. Yeah, so anything that implements toString is what we can use, right? Enrico, get off. Get off the server, Enrico. Let's make that into a string, and then this will be the URL that, and it's anything that implements toString. And instead of doing any of this jazz, we're just gonna do self URL is URL.toString. Okay, so much easier. And then here we just pass in self.url. Snap. Crackle. Pop. Is that you? Okay, so then that's a URL. Right? So back to our client, and then this is HTTPS localhost or 001. And then I think we took like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. Yeah. All right. And then we do with hash, and then we're gonna pass in our with hash with hex, right? No, not either, right? We should probably have anyhow here. All right. Okay, that's gonna goof up. Use anyhow result. Yeah, that's a problem because that doesn't exist. Is it in the server? Cat toml anyhow is in there. Okay, so let's open up our cargo toml from there and our cargo toml from here. Let's move anyhow into hither, and then that becomes workspace true. Snap. Okay, so no lib main. Right, and then no method with hash it. What do you have then? With certificate. So long. And thanks for all the fish. CTC, right? Certificate hash versus native search. That's what we do, right? So, okay, that's the server. Stay there. That's also the server. Let's go there, and then client. Let's not live there. With hash, not with hash. With what? No. Certificate hash. Okay. Yeah. Certificate hash. Actually, that should probably be certificate hex, right? Hash x. There we go. That's as we do the dumping of that when we run the server. We can get that. We can put that in here. So let hex equals panic. No, not panic. That for now. And then we pass in hex in there, and then finish. No. Oh, wait. Which gives us a result that we then can finish. No, it just gives us the client. Really? Okay, well. Right. If I run this now, it should crash. No, because it's going to try to connect. But if I go to Multipants server and run this, it should finish. Well, it would if we... Wait, is that a... It's going to give us a new hash every time. Oh, biscuits. We probably should allow it to reuse the files if they exist. Just quality. Quality of life. All right. Okay, what is in here? This is the world. No, we don't care about the world, okay? Net world rs. There we go. We're good. Net server builder. Uh, self sign. Here we go, right? So this should only do it if the files don't exist, right? So we have an overwrite flag in here. That is a bool. And so if this is set, right? If overwrite is not true, but is this, then how do we load the certificates? Oh, no, we should call with search then. That just loads the PEM files. Okay. But then we can't dump the hash, so we have to do it in a... right. Right, then. Okay, wait, I'm goofing up. There's a store PEM file. Is there a load PEM file? If there is, we're good. Yes. Okay. So if the files, if we don't want to overwrite and the file exists, right? What's the idiomatic way of looking at the file system if a file exists, right? Oh, well, that was difficult to find, right? Exists. Yeah. So if not overwrite and exists the cert and exists the PAM, the key, then do something, right? Wait, why do you return a result? As opposed to the path exists method, this will only return true or false if the path was verified to exist or not exist. If its existence can neither be confirmed nor denied, an error will be propagated instead. This can be the case for if listing permission is denied on one of the parent directories. Not only will avoid some pitfalls. That while this avoids some pitfalls of the exist method, it still cannot prevent timer check to time of use. Yeah, that's a given. I mean, you're not, unless you like freeze your hard drives, right? Can we write that? Okay, this is kind of weird. Since these are disposable certificates, it's okay to do this. Oh, key. There's no chain on the result. I thought we could do that, but apparently I'm making things up. Typical streamers, right? So we can just do that and Y. So if okay, true, and that. But is that right? So and will only return the next one if okay, that's fine. That's okay then, right? So if that's the case and not overwrite, otherwise do this. This is super gross. I think. Cannot load. I thought we had a load in here. Load PEM file. There's a load PEM file. Hello, Jadil. Why the flip does that not work? Load the certificate chain. Load PEM file. What am I doing wrong? Okay, this is driving me nanas. We have store, but no load, even though I can see load here. Oh, right. I see it. I see it. So that's not certificate chain. That is the well, certificate chain should have a load PEM file and a store PEM file. Okay, listen, you goof. Get rid of all this now. Start again. You have lost the plot. So it's not on the certificate chain. Even though I can see it here. What am I doing wrong here? What am I doing wrong here? We can see the store function. Why is there's no where clause that means this doesn't work, right? And if we go to private key, there's probably a load private key as well, right? No, there's a load PEM file there as well. Loads the first private key found in the PEM. What? Can I do this? Okay, is that a... So we have to do that, maybe. So it doesn't take a reference to self. No. So certificate chain. But where does the identity come in here? What? No, it's private key for the key, right? And that returns a result. And what does that give us? That gives us the private key. And then we want the loading of the PEM file as well from certificate chain. Yeah, it's the same thing there, right? Right, but what are we supposed to do with these then? How do they get into their identity? They don't, right? This is very confusing. How do we use the private key and certificate chain here with identity then? Can we do this? It's just an HOA async. Wait, is this the way? Miserably. Self-signed. Oh man, I do not know how this will work. I think this will crash. Because we're just loading these, we're not doing anything with them, right? There's no like identity. Yeah, we have no way of setting that, right? Can we do this thing here then? Let's try that. Well, hopefully you're happy with it. Okay, so now let's run this twice then. Actually, once. This takes 3. Oh yeah, so we have to say false. We are not allowing this to overwrite. Okay, so we're getting the same hash every time now. Let's do that so I don't get in trouble. All right, this one should now block. So if we go here, go to multipans client and run this, and then nothing. Okay, because we never accept incoming connections. Fill my stick. Is there a run here? Okay, let's just do, let's just accept incoming connections then. There's no way this is going to be right. There's something very strange about this. Let's go with server module. Here we go. So our listener. And then how do we do the... It's just going to be... That's the listener, right? Listener accept. That is not right, is it? Yeah, that's the endpoint. Okay, so we should, from here, time out my ass. I mean, don't do that. I don't want that to happen. Fiddlesticks. No, wait, it happened, right? So, main 10. Yeah, the world ticked. But the server refused to accept a new connection. That wasn't great. All right. I have to go and be a parent, right? This has been grand, but I am going to ungrand this. I'm not going to raid anyone because there's way too many things to push, way too many fixes I have to do in the browser to be able to actually see what I'm typing because lol, right? Anyway, you guys have been great. Thank you for hanging out, and I'll see you guys for my next stream. Go and do this tomorrow, okay? Actually, don't do that. Do this tomorrow. Shit. Anyway, bye.